Oh yeah, there you go. Look at that. Broadcast is not. There we go.
Yes, now we are live with Hillel Fuld here on my Henrik Beckheim podcast. How are you today, Hillel?
It's been a crazy week. What can I tell you? It's been nuts.
Yeah, I've been noticing. Oh my God, we're going to dive right into it. But for my audience, my podcast is based in Oslo, Norway. I thought we'd introduce you a little bit. You're well known in the United States and everywhere. But to my audience, you're an American Israeli technology business advisor. You're a blogger and a vlogger. And perhaps, yeah, you'd like to fill in a little bit yourself also, who you are and what you're doing.
Sure. Originally from the United States, from New York. I live in Israel for 30 years. And over the last 15 years or so, I've been working in the tech ecosystem, which I'm sure many of your viewers and listeners are familiar with. Israel is a leading technology player. And so I've been fortunate to kind of position myself right in the middle of all that excitement. And it's been amazing. That all changed, obviously, on October 7th, where I basically completely pivoted all of my resources to Israel advocacy, fighting for Israel online. And that's really what I've been doing since October 7th. It's been very gratifying. Billions of views and thousands of people who've told me they changed their mind, which is mind-boggling to me. But that's what I'm doing, just fighting for Israel online and trying to spread the truth, which is, of course, less popular than the lies of our enemies.
Yeah, definitely. We have something in common there. I have a similar story also. I'm trying to do the same here in Oslo, Norway, where also the environment for being Jewish is also insane with the anti-Semitism levels rising and the anti-Israel narrative being omnipresent everywhere. So we're in this fight together at the same time. And I thought we'd talk about lately what has been happening to you, which has made headlines everywhere in the world. You're actually being barred from entering Australia. Why in the heavens and on earth? Why are you barred from entering Australia?
First of all, I'm very proud. I added it to my I added it to my Twitter bio. It's like, wow, I'm barred from a continent. Yeah, it's totally absurd. I mean, a couple of days ago, or a week ago by now, someone sent me some random Twitter account that had posted a call to action to send letters to the immigration in Australia to ban me and not let me in, and they prepared a whole report on my tweets, and utterly ridiculous. I basically ignored it. Friday morning, I was getting a haircut, like my haircut, and
Yeah.
I got an email from the government telling me that my visa has been revoked and that I'm no longer allowed into the country for 3 years. After reading the email 5 times to make sure that I'm actually not seeing things, I, of course, appealed the decision and started to spring into action and reached out to friends, in the political world, whether it be Ambassador Mike Huckabee, who's a friend, or, Gideon Sa'ar, who's the Minister of Foreign Affairs, or Gilad Erdan, who was the previous ambassador to the UN, and many other people. And it's since then it's basically been escalating nonstop to the highest levels. But I've yet to hear a word from the Australian government. They're, in their defense, I'll say it is a holiday there, and it was the weekend. So I don't know if they're going to see, the media storm until they get back to the office on Tuesday. But then it'll be too late because my flight was on Tuesday, or it will be on Tuesday, so it's not going to happen.
Because you were to speak in Sydney and Melbourne for these fundraising events, weren't you?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
For an organization called Magen David Adom, which is like the Israeli version of the Red Cross, which is an emergency dispatcher to save lives. I mean, they're banning me from coming to speak at an event for a life-saving organization, and the topic of my talk was Israeli innovation. Like, there's no justification. It's ridiculous. There's no logic behind it, and I'm not a big fan of pulling the anti-Semitism card, but there's no other possible explanation here why they would ban. I'm not a politician. I'm just a regular dude. What are they banning me from their country? It's absurd.
What is your hunch? What is this about? Have you gotten any idea? Any idea what it is about?
I mean, what they said is they quoted a couple of my tweets in this document they sent me. For example, they said that last week I tweeted that there was no massacre in the humanitarian zone of Gaza, which now we know confirmed was not a massacre. Another one they said was that I talked about what percentage of Muslims worldwide are radicalized. And in the post, I wrote, I'm being conservative when I say 10 to 15%. Again, facts, hard facts. There's no debating that. That's just a fact. And many other things spoke about, the narrative that all of Gaza is innocent and it's only Hamas when in reality thousands of quote unquote innocent Gazans marched into Israel on October 7th. Many of them paraded the hostages around and had to be stopped by Hamas. Think about that for a second, right? So, and not to mention that obviously Gaza elected Hamas. So the whole narrative that like there's Hamas and there's the millions of innocent people in Gaza. So I debunked that lie. And again, that they claim that that's Islamophobic and that it's inflammatory and that it's hate speech. Absurd.
Have you ever gotten some of that similar response from different countries? I assume you like travel everywhere. Has there ever been like that kind of a response or attempts at barring you from different countries?
No. I'll tell you, it's funny. Like before this whole thing happened, they were already hiring 30 security guards or something like that for the event where I'm speaking. It's like, why do I need 30 security guards? Again, I'm just a random dude. It's wild. But no, I've not had this ever happen to me with any other country. I did have, a lot of hate directed at me in other countries, but never from the government or in any formal capacity or of course, never been banned from a country. So yeah, this is new uncharted territory for me.
Because I think Australia has a bad track record already when it comes to this, because we've all heard the stories about the nurses working in Australia who were bragging about killing Jews at their hospitals. And I think it's like, I thought of Australia as this Western modern country, and I never thought that they would have that kind of atmosphere towards Jews. Has this been a surprise to you as well, that this is coming from Australia?
Yes and no. On the one hand, it's absurd, it's upsetting. On the other hand, if you open a history book, you know how this plays out. And it plays out that the world comes after the Jews, they scapegoat the Jews, and everyone joins the party, everyone jumps on the bandwagon. So the fact that Australia is jumping on the bandwagon of the UK and Canada and South Africa and the rest of the anti-Semitic countries out there should not come as a surprise to anyone. But it's on the other hand, it's shocking that I'm seeing this level of anti-Semitism in my lifetime.
Something that I usually speak to my guests about, which my show has been all about this ever since October 7th, as you mentioned also for your story, is that try to dig down and try to analyze at the deepest level, what is anti-Semitism? Have you got any like ideas? Have you tried to drill down and think about what that is at the deepest level? What is anti-Semitism?
Of course. So it's a question I asked myself my entire life. Why do they hate us? I mean, the Jewish people have been nothing but a source of light in this world, and that's an objective fact. That's not I'm better than anyone else. Look at the amount of Nobel Prizes Jews have won. Look at who's, leads the world in cancer research. It's an objective fact. So why do they hate us? And I asked myself that question my entire life. And someone recently said something to me that deeply resonated with me. Maybe slightly controversial, might offend some people, but this, I believe, is the truth. And that is that if you look throughout history, you have the same script over and over again. You have an empire that hates the Jews, and the empire is growing and growing and growing until it reaches world domination. And the first thing that it does is it throws morality out the window, right? The emperor puts people to fight to the death in the Colosseum for his entertainment. Morality goes out the window, and then they come after the people that brought morality to the world. I mean, who brought the Torah, the Bible? How does the world know it's immoral to murder? Because it wasn't once upon a time. So the Jewish people have been the FedEx of morality to the world. And so if you kill FedEx, you don't get your package. They come after us. And then in every generation, unfortunately, we do the same thing. We come to our hosts and we say, hey, Egyptians, don't hate us. We're just like you. Hey, Romans. Hey, Greeks. Hey, America. We're more American than you. Who are the most liberal people in America today? It's the Jews, right? So, we think that if we assimilate and we say we're just like you, they're going to hate us less, when in reality it's the opposite. Because they say to us, you're not just like us. And we've developed a tool to show you that you're not just like us. And it's called anti-Semitism. And then anti-Semitism goes through the roof. And unfortunately, the next stage is that empire falls. So we're basically at the last stage of Western civilization right now. And if history is any indication, the next step is unfortunately Western civilization falling. I hope I'm wrong. Nothing would make me happier. But again, that's what history has shown us. And someone said if learning from history has taught us anything, it's that we don't learn from history. If you want to know what's about to happen, open a history book.
I thought that we were done with anti-Semitism after the Second World War. I thought that somehow I was naive enough to think that 6 million dead Jews was enough for the world to learn. I guess I was wrong.
Yeah, no, you have to understand, like, anybody who tries to rationalize, I mean, I know that I just tried to rationalize it, but it really, it just makes no sense. It takes on a new face in every generation. There is no logic here. It's just pure Jew hatred that's built into the universe, into the DNA of the universe. It really is. There's no, on October 7th, I said to myself, they live streamed the atrocities. I said to myself, there's no way, like no hypothetical scenario in which the world doesn't stand with Israel after what Hamas did. It was clear to me. I was like, if there's any silver lining, that's it. That support for Israel lasted about a day, right? So after October 7th, you would think people would love us more, not hate us more. It doesn't make any sense. This whole war makes no sense.
How important is Israel to you?
How important is oxygen to you?
Yeah, exactly.
No, but it's an important question because people like to differentiate
Yeah,
between Judaism and Israel as if like it
I
doesn't
know.
say Zion, Zion thousands of times in our scripture and in our prayers, as if you can like Jews but not believe that they deserve a safe haven and a home in their eternal homeland. If you're anti-Zionism, if you're against the movement to bring Jews back home, then you're anti-Jewish. There's no, you can't, that differentiation as if it's two different things, it's artificial and it's just bogus. It's ridiculous. They're one and the same.
What's the atmosphere in the U.S. right now? Do you live in the U.S. For the time being?
Thank the Lord I live in Israel.
You live in Israel now, full time. Yeah. Because I assume you travel to the U.S. a lot still, but do you get a sense of what the atmosphere is like there? Does people still support the Jews in like certain areas? I assume like in New York or the places where there are the largest gatherings of Jews, or what's your take on it?
So I was just there a couple of weeks ago, and before, listen, I don't want to throw anyone under the bus or talk badly about American Jewry. A lot of my closest friends and family live there, and no judgment here. But it's shocking to me. It really is shocking to me because what has to happen for people to realize they are no longer safe there? I mean, I say to my friends a very simple thing. I say, if I told you 10 years ago that in 10 years from now, there are going to be anti-Semites in Congress, academic institutions are not going to let Jews walk around freely, Jews are going to be harassed on the streets. The world leading rapper is going to come out with a song called Heil Hitler. Jews are going to be burned alive in the streets of the United States of America. You would have said to me, there is no way that's going to happen in the United States of America. And if that does, you would have said to me, I'm out of there. And here we are. All of those things happened and they continue to happen. And everyone's just sticking their head in the sand as if it doesn't affect them. And you know what? People say, oh, it doesn't affect me. What do you mean it doesn't affect you? Like, drive 5 seconds in your car and you'll bump into, they're everywhere, right? And so even if a person wasn't individually, personally affected yet, since when do you make, life decisions based on, oh, it hasn't affected me? What are you waiting for? You're waiting for it, what, to be murdered? Like, look around you, look at the data, look at the numbers. They don't lie. Hundreds of percentages of increase in anti-Semitic attacks. I mean, Jews are 0.25 of the population and 70% of hate crimes against religion. It's absurd. And still, my friends in the States, it doesn't affect me. I don't really know, what do you say to that? Because I say, if I put a gun to your head and I said, get on a plane or I'm pulling the trigger, you'd be on a plane. So that must mean that you don't think that what's happening today constitutes a gun. So what does? What has to happen? I don't know.
Do you feel like the government and the authorities in the United States are taking this seriously enough?
No. No, but I don't. I've learned enough times throughout history. We don't have to depend on foreign governments. It never works out well, and that is exactly why Jews need to come back to Israel. Because yes, we had October 7th. Yes, we have a war. I'm not denying that or belittling that. But here we have an army whose mission it is to defend me. And yes, that mission failed on October 7th. But that doesn't mean there's no mission. There is a mission, and there's an army dedicated to my safety. Who's protecting Jews over there? No one. We see this day in, day out. Police just stand there on the side as people chant genocide and, intifada, globalize the intifada. They're calling for the murder of Jews. And these cops are standing there. It's insane. It's no other word. It's insane. So, I speak to my friends and I say, I don't know what you're waiting for, but at least if you can't leave now, make a plan. Have an exit plan.
Do you think a lot of Jews are suffering from the boiling frog phenomenon where they don't know that they're in water that is slowly heating?
That's really interesting. I actually just read, Adam Grant, the author, Adam Grant, Give and Take. Anyway, I just read one of his books. He said something fascinating. He said that's actually an urban legend. Like, that's actually not true.
Yeah.
Like actually scientifically, that's not true. Like, if you put a frog in boiling hot water that's slowly boiling, it will jump out when it's uncomfortable. But if you throw it into boiling water, it will die. Like, anyway, he went on and on about it, but that's just a funny anecdote. But 100%. I mean, they're sitting there and things are getting progressively worse by the day, and they're just like, oh, sticking my head in the sand. But this is not something that's unique to our generation, right? Why did 80% of the Israelites in Egypt, after 210 years of backbreaking slavery, decide to stay back? Why did the German Jews stay back? I mean, when Hitler was just speaking rhetoric, that's one thing. But when they legislated the Nuremberg laws, what did they think was going to happen? And I never had an answer to that question my entire life. I was like, I don't understand how they didn't read the writing on the wall. And now I do. Now I understand it, because now there's no writing on the wall. Now the wall is covered in writing, and it's like, hello, you were coming after you Jews. And we're like, it doesn't affect me. It's absurd. it's painful to see, but I don't know, when a person perceives reality in such a skewed way, what do you even say to that?
What do you think that is? Is it denial? Because you would think that anti-Semitism and that whole atmosphere towards Jews is so bad, it's so terrible. If that was real, that you'd rather just choose to deny it for yourself. Like it can't be real. It cannot be real. Like what we're seeing.
It could be. And by the way, I'll tell you, this is like a tactic when you in general, like you don't want to do something, you justify, you make justifications, right? And this is what I'm saying. People say, what if we all come to Israel, we'll be an easy target? What, I'm going to run away from America? I got to stay here and fight. It's like, dude, like if you had spoken to my grandmother in 1935, would you have said to her, stay and fight? Or would you have said, get the hell out? Like, what? Oh, we're going to be an easy target. Yeah, you'll be an easy target, and we have the strongest army in the world defending you here. Like, the excuses, they never end. And I want to say again, this isn't from a place of judgment. Like, I want them to come home because I want them to come home for me, and I think we need them and they need us, and that's the reality. I'm not judging anyone. I understand that it's not so simple to pick up and leave and go to another country. I get that. So again, the way I heard a friend of mine say it is American Jews are on a business trip. Right? When you're on a business trip, you get a nice car, you stay in a nice hotel, you're living it up, but you're on a business trip. Don't forget that you're going home, right? And this is where we're at right now. American Jewry, not only Americans, Jews around the world, forgot that they're on a business trip and they somehow convinced themselves that they're home, which they're not. And God's making that abundantly clear to them in every conceivable way. Israel's an amazing place to live now. Anti-Semitism's through the roof. You can come here and not lower your quality of life. There's really no real justification for anyone not to come to Israel. Again, with the little asterisk, and this is important, that it's not so easy to pick up and leave. People have circumstances. I get that. So again, have an exit plan.
I find it so strange to come full circle like this, as in my family, they fled from Austria in 1938 from Nazi Germany, and they came up here to Oslo, Norway. They thought that was far away from the Nazis to get away from it all. But still, my great-grandmother Gisela, she was killed by the Nazis, deported from Oslo on a ship called DS Duna down to Auschwitz and killed there in the Holocaust. And that story has always been with me. But lately, those black and white photos has gotten their colors back, because I feel like the same kind of atmosphere is going on now. And I feel like it's so difficult being as a Jew, like what I'm feeling, and talk to other people also feeling Jewish people, and trying to find that balance between, is this just me as a Jew feeling like being super afraid of what could happen, trying to calibrate that balance between keeping a cool head and see this is going to blow over, this is going to be all right, and also to that furthest point of being like, oh my God, we got to think 5 steps ahead, we got to think 10 steps ahead, and trying to find that calibrating in between those two other extremes.
Yeah, it's a crazy situation that I never expected to see in my entire lifetime, and it's not getting any better. That's another thing. People are like, yeah, this isn't Nazi Germany. You're right, it's not. Let me tell you something. I was always the person to say nothing can be compared to the Holocaust. Don't use the Holocaust to make your political point or any other point. Don't use the Holocaust. That was my opinion always. But now we're talking about Hamas, right? Oh, they're not Nazis. Are you kidding me? The Nazis drank themselves to sleep out of shame. The Hamas live streamed it. There were Germans who saved Jews. The Gazans were offered millions of dollars to save the hostages. Not one gave over information. So I'm not I'm not a big fan of saying that, they're worse than the Nazis. It doesn't matter. The reality is we're dealing with a crazy situation. And those that say, oh, this isn't Nazi Germany in America, America's not Nazi Germany. Correct. America's not Nazi Germany. But if you look at everything that happened that led up to the Holocaust, it's all happened. It's all happened. It started with academic institution. It's happening. So I don't want to say there are going to be concentration camps in America. Of course there won't. But we also shouldn't wait around to see what will happen, because it's not going to get any better.
And anti-Semitism always comes in different shapes and forms. It never takes the same kind of form twice. It's like they started with, oh, they're going to go against our faith, and then Hitler came and then he said, no, it's not about their faith. It doesn't matter if they're Jewish and their faith or not. It's about their race. It's about their blood. And then lately, it's been going after Zionism. No, we're not anti-Semitic. We're just anti-Zionist. Can you spend a couple of minutes and clearing that up? Is that a distinction between being anti-Zionist and being anti-Semite?
So just to address your first thing, I actually spoke in Israel's parliament about this. They hated us when we weren't white enough. in the Holocaust, and now they hate us because we're white colonialists. They hated us when we were rich. They hated us when we were poor. They hated us when we were stateless, and now they hate us when we have a state. They said, get out of Europe and go to Palestine. Now they're saying, get out of Palestine, go to Europe, right? So let's not pretend that, it's just anti-Semitism is built into the DNA of the universe. It always was and always will be. And that's why we need Israel, right? People say the conflict, or I should say that anti-Semitism is a result of the state of Israel. No. The state of Israel is a result of the anti-Semitism. Not really. I mean, we deserve Israel for many other reasons, but it's one of the reasons that we need the state of Israel, because we see what happens when we depend on foreign governments. So that's an important point. But again, anti-Zionism and anti-Semitism, it's such a ridiculous statement. I mean, no matter how you want to look at this, you want to look at Jewish scripture, Jewish prayers. Jews have prayed to Jerusalem for thousands of years. Wherever they were in the world, they faced Jerusalem, right? The word Zion and Zion throughout our prayers, throughout our scripture, Yerushalayim, it's all over the place. It's saying, I'm not anti-Semitic, I'm only anti-Zionist. It's like saying, I'm not anti-Christian, I'm only anti-Jesus. Like, what? Like, Israel is core to Judaism. You cannot separate those things. And so if you're, from a theological perspective, if you're anti-Zionist, theologically, you are anti-Jewish. But it's not only theologically, politically, diplomatically. After World War II, you're going to tell me that the Jews don't deserve a state when there's 50-something Muslim states and who knows how many Christian states? The Jewish people don't deserve one? One? That's too much for you? How do you justify that without being an anti-Semite? So, this whole we're not anti-Semitic, only anti-Zionist is absurd. It's a ridiculous statement. And honestly, anyone who says that is at best ignorant and at worst a lot worse than that.
Could we also spend a few minutes clearing up these slogans that people are running around chanting, thinking maybe, like in best case scenario, they're thinking that they're saying something good, and worst case, they know exactly what they're saying. Like this beautiful couple a couple of weeks ago who were gunned down in Washington, D.C. outside the Jewish Museum, Yaron Lushinsky and Sarah Milgram. They were killed by this guy yelling, free, free Palestine. Also, after he emptied his whole clip into Sarah Milgram and killed her, he was chanting proudly, free, free Palestine. What does that slogan actually mean, free Palestine?
Oh man, I don't know if you want to go there, but listen, if we want to really take a little bit of a deeper look at the entire narrative of our enemies, you don't have to be a historian or a Middle East expert to realize that not only do they lie, but they contradict themselves, right? What was the narrative before October 7th? Gaza's an open-air prison. Oh my God, it's an open-air prison. And now Gaza was paradise. Which one is it? If it was an open-air prison and life in Gaza is so bad, then why don't you accept the millions of dollars that are being offered to you to give us some intel on these hostages and get the heck out of there, because we're gonna help you leave. Why do you want to leave? And here's another thing, right? They're refugees. Wait, hold on one second. Is Gaza your home or is it not your home? If it's not your home, then what do you care to leave? And if it is your home, you can't be a refugee in your own home. And what is globalize the intifada? That's literally calling for global violence against Jews. And the same people saying that are the same people saying ceasefire now. What? Those things they cannot coexist, right? The same people are saying there's no food in Gaza. The same people saying that the hostages are being fed well. Like, they contradict themselves all the time. Their entire narrative is one big lie. And the reason that is because the foundation of the Palestinian identity is one big lie. I mean, if the Palestinian people, as they call themselves, have a rich history of thousands of years in this region, can someone please name me one name of a single Palestinian leader before the Grand Mufti, who was basically a Nazi, and Yasser Arafat, who was an arch terrorist? Name me one. If they have thousands of years of history here, one. Give me one name. Of course it's ridiculous, because they never existed. There never was an Arab-Palestinian state. There was nobody to occupy, because we can't occupy our own home. So the whole thing, Yasser Arafat, the father of the Palestinian people, was born in Cairo. Like, what are you even saying? The whole thing's ridiculous. He founded the Palestinian Liberation Organization in 1964. What exactly was he liberating? There was no occupation then. What was he liberating? Why don't you read his charter? He says what he was liberating, every inch of Israel. And if the whole narrative is, look, Israel's oppressing the Palestinians and that's why they're attacking, so then before the quote-unquote occupation, there should have been no terror. Why were Arabs massacring Jews in 1929 in Hebron? Not only was there no occupation, there was no state of Israel. So the whole entire narrative from the foundation is one big historical fabrication and lie. And so when you start lying, you can't stop lying. Everything they say is one big lie. There's no massacre. There's no genocide. Israel's doing more than any army has ever done to minimize civilian death. And if you ask me, too much. We've sent in hundreds of millions of tons of food. What famine? What are you even talking about? Nothing about what they say is true. And not only is it not true, but everything that they're doing, they're accusing us of doing. I think in projection, in psychology language, right? We're committing genocide. Do you see what they did on October 7th? That's genocide, right? So everything that they do, we're apartheid. Have you ever tried walking into an Arab town in Judea and Samaria? There's a big red sign that says, if you're a Jew, you can't go past here. That's apartheid. So everything they're guilty of, they accuse us of doing. It's absurd, but you have to see through it. And unfortunately, very sadly, tragically, millions and millions of people around the world just buy this garbage. It's crazy.
Yeah, I just had Natasha Hausdorff on the podcast as well. She was here in Norway, and she was actually debating Amnesty International, who is just a joke because they're saying like, in Israel, we've concluded that Israel in our 300-page report that they are committing genocide. But when they were asked and pressed on, well, did Hamas commit genocide or try to commit genocide on October 7th? We don't have any evidence suggesting that.
You know what? I got to be honest with you. The first 6 months of the war, I was banging my head in the wall every day. Like, how do these people not see the truth? But then I realized, you know what? Like I said before, this war makes no sense. And whether you want to call it God or anything else, to me, because I look at this war from beginning to end, for better or for worse, there is no rational way to explain this war. Even October 7th, by the way, as dark and horrible and tragic and devastating as it was, and of course it was, how do you explain 5,000 terrorists with 8 hours and unlimited access to automatic weapons only killing 1,200 people? Just think about that. 5,000 terrorists. Each one of them just killed one person. 5,000 dead. If each one of them killed 2 people, and they're spraying bullets in all directions, we should have 150,000 casualties, not 1,200. Which, again, I don't want to be misunderstood. 1,200 is a terrible, terrible tragedy. It's 1,200 worlds. But also, there should have been not 1,200, but 120,000, casualties that day. And we talk about the Iron Dome. The Iron Dome is a technological wonder. It's a modern day clouds of glory. I mean, it's a wild thing. No one thought that was a possible thing to build, to intercept and detonate rockets midair. And then we have the David Sling and we have the Arrow. And these 3 systems, each and every one of them, independent of the other, is a miracle. But they never were meant to work together. And those 2 nights that Iran attacked Israel, they worked together to perfection. These are open miracles happening. We just have to open our eyes to see them.
Yeah, well, we're going towards the end now, but I was wondering if you have a comment on what's going on with the Greta Thunberg and her selfie yacht and everything, all that commotion that's going on over there.
I don't even, honestly, she's getting too much attention. She doesn't even deserve our attention. She's, whatever. I'm not going to diagnose her. I'm not a psychologist, but there's something very, very wrong with that girl. Like, very wrong with her. And what did they think was going to happen? I mean, again, if you'd asked me, Israel was too nice. But it's absurd. It's a joke, and it's just a publicity stunt. And I don't think anyone takes her seriously at this point.
And also, I think it's what's more interesting is not what she was doing, but how the world media is reacting to it, how the world is reacting to that kind of stuff. And she was bringing 100 kilos of food and trying to save Gaza or something, and not mentioning how much Israel is actually brought into Gaza. Of course, no Western media is putting attention on that because that would skew their narrative of Israel being the great demon in this.
She says, we were intercepted and kidnapped. Really? Kidnapped? Really? It's like, again, honestly, it bothers me that we're even talking about her. She doesn't deserve our attention. She's a complete lunatic, and I'm being nice.
Yeah, me too. I hope that we will get to see what's going on lately or later on with Australia, and that I hope that you will get access into it. And I bet you will keep us updated on that whole situation. And I know that you're going to a big event now, but I thank you so much for your time, Hillel, and thank you to everybody who's been watching now. Almost 2,000 people has been watching live while we were speaking right now. So I thank to everybody who's been paying attention to this, and thank you for your time, Hillel, and for your work and everything you're doing for Jews around the world.
Thank you, my friend.
Thank you, and bye.
Bye.